Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl Sawatsky. On behalf of CTC Train Canada, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to this afternoon's webinar on learning to work on the move with Windows 10, Office 365, and Skype. So based on the strong response to this event, it really demonstrates that the mobile world in which we live and work is a reality. And software vendors, they recognize this as they incorporate tools into their releases to accommodate working on the move. And so today, this afternoon, we'll look at 3 Microsoft products in particular, how they help us with that. We'll be looking at Windows 10, some of its new features, Office 365, as well as Skype for Business. And so we're really looking forward to seeing how these tools can work together to help you work on the move. With us today, we have Greg Lutz. He'll be presenting. Greg is a senior instructor, a Microsoft certified instructor. He's been working with us teaching, developing courseware over the last 13 years, and has blended that together with his own private consulting business as well. So very well positioned to help us along the way. He specializes in teaching Microsoft Office, SharePoint, Adobe, Windows. And so any questions that we can have, certainly Greg will help us with that. I would like to let you know that we certainly welcome questions. Your audio is muted, so you can pose these in the chat box or the Q&A box. I'll be monitoring that and forwarding those questions along to Greg as the presentation moves along. So at any point in time, feel free to input your question. So without further ado, I'll pass the word over to Greg. And Greg, we're looking forward to learning how we can work on the move with Windows 10, Office 365, and Skype for Business.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Carl. Just to start out, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Windows 10 first, and just kind of talk about the menu and some of the things that I've learned myself with it. And then we're going to start to move into some of the other products. We're going to talk about Office 365 and how you share, co-author, and work with a document, and then we'll jump into Skype for Business. But first, let's take a look at Office 10 and some of the things that I've learned with it. I'm just going to share my my whole screen. That way you guys can see everything is kind of going on in the background. All right. And what you should see is I've just kind of signed into to a couple of websites here. I'll just minimize all this stuff so I get to my desktop. Windows 10 is very similar to a lot of the different operating systems. Your taskbar has come back, so they did away with Metro, and they've given you your start menu back. You can search right away down at the bottom, so you don't have to click on anything. The search is already there. And although that was available in previous versions of Windows, it wasn't something that I saw people commonly turn on. When you click on the Start menu, it's fairly typical. You do have a hint of Metro on the right-hand side. So if there are different applications, you can pin them to your Start menu, and this is considered your Start menu. However, all your apps are here, your Power, your Settings, and of course, File Explorer as well. I do find it a lot easier to just type in what I'm looking for, rather than actually go through the menus. When you click into the search, you'll notice that the menu collapses a little bit and allows me to type in pretty much whatever I want, like Word. As you can see, easily, simply, it finds Word and allows me to open it up quickly. If it is a product that you use all the time, you may want to consider pinning it either to the Start menu or pinning it to your taskbar down below. There are some advantages to pinning it to the taskbar, though. See, if I right-click on, say, Word here, I'll be able to pin it to the taskbar. And when I do that, this icon works a little bit differently now. It's same with my Outlook. See, if I right-click on the Outlook, I can create new meeting messages. I can create a new contact, new task. Of course, I can open Outlook itself. And with Word, although I don't have anything to show you, when you right-click on top of Word, it shows you all the last documents that you've been working with. So all the recent documents, it's all listed there. But it's up to you to decide exactly how you want to customize some of these things. There are some other products that they've included, and they've been here in different capacities. But starting with Windows 7, they started to use a program or include a program called Steps. It's called Steps Recorder. You'll find it in Windows 7, Windows 8, and of course in Windows 10. And Steps Recorder allows you to reproduce either an issue or a problem. Well, to be honest, it's probably better if I just show you. This is quite interesting if you have to do manuals or you have to show people how to do different things. A lot of times we spend a lot of time taking screenshots, cropping those screenshots, and writing out different instructions. So if a person doesn't know how to, well, I don't know, say book an appointment, right? I can use Steps Recorder to record the steps and show them exactly how to book an appointment. When I hit record, it's now recording all my steps, and I really don't need to see this. But if I want, I can add comments to the beginning of the recording, and these would be text comments. It doesn't record audio. It strictly records my screenshots, my movements, and it adds comments itself all along the way. Like I said, it's better if I just show you. So I'll minimize this. I'll head to the calendar. And real typical, right? New meeting. Hopefully nothing you haven't done before. And then I can invite some people to the meeting. Again, not showing you anything you haven't seen with meetings. And then location, right, main boardroom. And we'll do this, let's see, I got time on Friday. And we'll do this around 10:30. It takes up to noon. All right, so I can send all this out. All right, shows them how to do it. Out the door it goes, and it appears in my calendar. When I go back to Steps Recorder, I can hit Stop Recording. And it takes screenshots of everything that I've done. It also details different things out that I'm doing as well, like clicking on different parts of the screen, clicking on different menus, different buttons, typing things in, all step by step. Saves you a ton of time. As you can see, it highlights the different areas that you click on, the different areas that you work in. And then all the steps are all documented here. All stepped out, step 1, right to 20. You can clean the whole thing up if you want to. You can open this up in Word and actually edit this thing. But that's just Steps Recorder. Microsoft also gives you 2 browsers. They give you this one, which is the Edge, and then they still give you Internet Explorer, which we've seen for a while. There are different things that I do to the different browsers, but one of the things that I really enjoy in both browsers is my my favorites bar. I like the favorites bar. I also like the menu bar in this one. The menu bar is the File, Edit, View. The reason I like this is because I can always click on Tools and send different pages to OneNote. And that way I can make notes about the page or grab information off of the page without doing a copy and paste. And of course, the favorites menu, I like this one for all of my favorites. So if there are different websites and I want to make them a favorite, all I have to do is click on the icon and drag it to my favorites bar. You can always rename it if you want. And the Edge really is no different. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of difference between the two, but this is Edge. So if I do have a website and I want to make it my my favorite website, I'll just create a new tab here. With this one, I don't actually drag anything to the bar. With this one, I use the star. So I can click right on top of the star, and I can create this in my favorites bar. You can even create new folders too. I can change the name right away. And when I click on add, it all comes back. To send stuff to OneNote, though, is a little bit different. Obviously, I can always highlight different things, that I want. Click on the actual article. But one of the things you kind of have to get used to is Microsoft wants to share everything. So if I want to share this article, this page with somebody, that's what this button is for. I can click on the share button, and I can either send the page through email, or I could send it to OneNote and actually capture the information. So not just a link, but it actually captures the information, and that way I don't have to worry about the page disappearing or the information changing on me. Other than that, the browsers are fairly basic. I do have like a hamburger menu almost, where I can click on it, it shows me the favorites. You now have a reading list, so you can click on the star and actually save things for reading later. Your history and your downloads are here too. As far as settings go, pretty straightforward stuff. You can show the favorite bar or not. You can also change the theme as well and specify which page to start with. So again, very, very similar to before. The one thing that is kind of nice about the Edge is that it's a single button to clear out the browsing history. With Internet Explorer, you kind of have to jump through a couple of different hoops. And let me just close this one and keep this one up. All right. Now for Office 365. There's a bit of confusion when it comes to Office 365. Some people are confused as to exactly what Office 365 is. 365 is really a service. So it's a web service that offers up web versions of some of Microsoft products, like OneNote, Mail, Calendar, Sway. They're not really meant to replace the full-blown version, and some of these really don't have a desktop version, like Sway. There's not a whole lot of difference between some of the different versions, to be very honest, as far as the desktop or the online version. And I think if some users are honest with themselves, the online version would do them just fine. But like I said, they're not meant as a replacement. It's meant for collaboration. It's also made it easier so that if you don't have Word, Excel, or PowerPoint installed in your home machine or your tablet or your TV or whatever it is that you decide to use, now you do. When you sign in, it offers cloud computing. Delivering an application over a web browser is called cloud computing, and that's what this stuff is. We'll get to some of the other things like OneDrive and sharing an application, but just to quickly go over a couple things that you might not be familiar with, like Sway. Sway is for online presentations. Nothing too serious, and the presentation can be automated so that a user clicks on a link and the presentation walks the user through the presentation. You also have Planner, great for groups, great when you really don't need a full-blown SharePoint site and full-blown libraries and all that stuff. It's just a spot to trade ideas, trade files, maybe plan the odd group event, and that's about it, really. Nothing's too serious. People are contacts, tasks are tasks. Video, that's like having YouTube at work. That really deserves a real good look at. You can create different channels, like a help channel, and then people aren't bugging IT how to do different things. They can go to the help channel. SharePoint, that's just a great big animal. It's an internal website, and you can just do amazing stuff. Delve, you got to see it to believe it, but it tries to help you out with different documents that you're working on, and different documents that are trending in your organization. It tries to bring information all together in one spot. They do a great job, though, in your profile in Office 365. You have your news feed, you got Yammer. Power Apps is interesting. This basically would allow different developers or even some power users the ability to build applications that all kind of talk together. And Flow, that's for workflows. Dynamics 365 is a CRM system. So if you don't have one, Dynamics, that's a heck of a system. But first, let's talk about all this collaboration stuff. So as I mentioned, any browser, anywhere, Apple, PC, it really doesn't matter, all right? So that in itself is awesome. You can be sitting there with your iPad, sign into work, and you have all these applications available to you just as if you had a PC. But to collaborate, you're going to want to use something called OneDrive. When you click on the OneDrive, it signs you in to your own personal private area. Here, you're allowed to create files and share files with other people, as well as folders. But when you come into it, just a word of the wise, one of the things you're going to want to do is click this sync button. What the sync button does is it allows you to sync with files between your PC and your computer. It may take a few minutes, depending on how many files that you actually have, but then what it does is it actually gives you your own spot on your computer, right here. Anything with a green check mark has already been synced. Anything that doesn't have a green check mark hasn't been synced yet. So I could right-click, for instance, create a brand new folder, and call this one Shared with Everyone. The idea is that I would put different things in there that I don't mind sharing with everybody in the company. I'll have to kind of go back to OneDrive, though, and manage it. I'll hit sync again. And after a few minutes, that file folder shows up. The other thing that you can do is you can create additional files, new ones. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, even surveys. So the idea here is collaboration. When you create a document here, you're collaborating with other people. So I can head to New and create an Excel workbook. I don't need Excel on my machine. Everything is served up through the browser. Now, it's not meant to replace Excel, and if I do have Excel installed on my machine, I'll have a button that says Edit in Excel. Excel is available for the iPhone, and it's also available for Android as well. If you have a BlackBerry, you'll have to use the portal like I am right now. So you'll still have to use the online version. But works well. So I can put out a list of books. Oops, Traveler's Life, right? I still have that autofill, so I can automatically fill in the names of the months, right? So I can click on January to use that autofill, and autofill across. Autofit still works too. And of course, I've got all my different formulas. I can format things as a table. So if I can put in some sales here, right? I can make this look good and format the whole thing as a table. Now I got drop downs, I can sort, I can filter. I don't get the table menu, so I'm still missing a few features. But in a pinch, if I have to change something, alter something, take a look at something, and I don't have Excel on the device that I have with me, now I do. It's a bit odd to work in the online versions. The name of the file sits in the middle, and that's how you rename the file. as you can see. So if I don't want to call this book, I can click right here and rename it. Now, if you're sharing this with other people, right, you can't rename it while it's being shared. Everybody has to get out, and then I got to change the name. So here I'll change the name, and then if I wish to share it with somebody else, all I have to do is hit my share button. It's the same type of invitation that you see all the time. Even SharePoint has the same invitation. But you type in the person's name, you decide whether they can edit or whether they can just view, so you control the permissions yourself. Here I'll share it with Toronto 11. All right, Toronto 11 comes up right from my address book. I can include a personal message. And hit share. Not only does it send myself a message, but it also sends Toronto 11 a message as well, of course. So I like the idea that I've got something in my inbox as far as a paper trail goes, and they get a link in their inbox. So if I switch here, there's Toronto 11. I'll go to my mail. So I'll sign in here as Toronto 11. Oops. Force a habit. And put in the password. And it's just going to bug me for this because it's the first time I signed in. Being a brand new account. And opens my mailbox. This is the email that I sent from Toronto 11. All they have to do is click on the link. That's it. When they click on the link, the two of us can work at the exact same time on the exact same file. It gets even better with Word. See, with a Word document, it's a little bit different. I'll go back to my OneDrive here. And here I've got a Word document. And the idea with this one is that you would share it out to the different departments. So I would hit share. And share this out with Toronto 11. See, it remembers that I've already emailed that person. Give them edit capability. Hit share. And sends them a message. There's the message about the office location move. All I got to do is click on it. And again, it doesn't matter if you're using a television, an iPad, an iPhone, it doesn't matter. When you click onto it, the two of us are making changes at the same time. I can see that Toronto 12 is in here too. So on the left-hand side, I see Toronto 12. Right? And of course, on Toronto 12's screen, I'll be able to make changes and add stuff and do what I need to do. And it's kind of confused, but normally that would say Toronto 11. I can edit the document in the browser. And once I start editing, as you can see, this is full-blown Word, almost. And then if Toronto 11 wishes to edit the document as well, the idea is that, again, you edit in the browser, and that way you get this capability. Lets me know Toronto 12 is also editing. I have a chat that I can open and talk to the person, and I can see exactly where Toronto 11 is working. Or sorry, Toronto 12 is working. That's Toronto 12 right there. Here I'm working on the HR task. And then back over in Toronto 12's world, I can see that Toronto 11 is editing and Toronto 11 is down here. So in real time, you actually see people working and editing and changing documents. You'll still have to collaborate and make sure that you don't change each other's stuff, and you're still going to have to talk to each other. But at least this way, you can collaborate. And it makes it simple for you to chat. The chat's built in, so it's not another program that has to be launched. So that way, if you are working with a tablet or a television, you're not going to have like a quad processor, depending, at least not with a ton of RAM anyway. So in English, you wouldn't have to open up a separate chat program. You could chat all within this window, so it makes it very, very light, very easy for a lot of different devices, especially older devices, to handle it. When I'm finished, there's nothing to save. It's already saved. I can go back to my own drive, so I can click on Toronto 12. And head back to Toronto 12. There's my file folder, share with everyone. So if I wish to change permissions on this one, I can just put a check mark beside it and hit share. And just like before, I can share it out with everyone. As you can see, I also had an option there, everyone except for external users. So if somebody was to send this outside the company, I can make it so that they need to be part of our company. That's also what the required sign-in is for too. So now I can share this with everyone in the company, and now everybody has access to this. And no, thank goodness it wouldn't send an email out to everybody in the company and let them know that I've shared something with them. You can drag files in here, but OneDrive is available for your phone. This way, if there's any files that you have, they're already synchronized with your phone. Instead of saving files on the network, you would save files here. These are your personal files. This is the stuff that you're working with all the time, every day. They sit locally, which, yes, I know the IT guys told you not to save it locally, but that's changed. When you use something like OneDrive, any files that you save locally are immediately backed up on the cloud. So better than a network drive, it's not sitting at the company, it's sitting in the cloud, and therefore it's accessible by any device that you have that can access OneDrive or can access Office 365. It's even integrated into the programs. So if I'm finished with a document and I'm finished saving, I can head to File, and there's OneDrive. All I have to do is sign into my OneDrive account, and that saves it directly to OneDrive, or I hit Browse. OneDrive comes up as a separate drive, and I can save it right here and share it with everyone. Let me hit close, and I'll cancel out of all that stuff. So it's integrated into the operating system. It makes it easy for yourself and other users to share things, and makes it easy for me to figure out who I've shared this with. Here I've got a document, I've shared it with other people, I can't remember exactly who, but I can click on shared, tells me all about it, and shows me that, oh, you're sharing it with these people. I can add people, I can stop sharing, and I get some more metadata information about it. A nice little thumbnail shows me what it looks like, and I can also see some of the recent activity that's been done to it. And that's just OneDrive. Imagine all the other bells and whistles that you have with the rest of the suite. Believe me, there's a lot there, and a lot to play with. The other big one is Skype, and there are some different options that all of a sudden become available in all your different products the moment that you have Skype installed. Really quick, I'll just see, yeah, I don't have it installed on this one, maybe I've got it in this one. Real quick, I'll just see if I've got, let's see if I've got it here. All right. You'll see it when you bring up different pages that have a phone number on the page. But now it's integrated. Skype is integrated into your browsers. So if there's any phone numbers that it sees on the page, you can actually click on the phone number, and you can dial the phone number through Skype. So if your office is completely integrated into Skype and you're using it for phone calls, this way, when you see a number on a web page, you don't actually have to dial it yourself. You can just click, just like your cell phone, right? Your smartphone, when people send you messages and things and they've got a number in the message, all you got to do is click on the message and it opens the dialing app, right? Opens the phone and starts dialing. Well, this is the same way. Makes sense to integrate the two. I won't actually do that. Instead, let's go to Skype. If you've used any type of online messaging system at all, Skype is very similar to a lot of them. In fact, it looks very familiar to you if you remember Windows 95 NetMeeting. This thing has gone through lots of different changes. MSN Live, NetMeeting, they've had a ton of different names for it. Windows Messenger. Now it's called Skype for Business. With Skype for Business, this allows you to work collaboratively with different people in your office. Here I've got Toronto 11 is signed in, and I can collaborate with Toronto 11 just by hovering over top of the little icon. So I can instant message, I can call them, I can make a video call, save them as a contact, and even more stuff that I can get to with this button. Schedule a meeting, send them an email message. However, trying to get a hold of people sometimes is really hard. So while you're on the road, you can use Skype, and this is definitely something that can be installed in any Android, Windows, or iPhone. And a neat feature while you're waiting for people is to tag for status changes. So if they're on the phone, if they're meeting, if they're busy, if they're marked as away or do not disturb, you'll get a little message that tells you when they're free, when they're online and available. But Skype makes it a lot easier and a lot simpler for people to collaborate and get together. It's even integrated right into your calendar. On the Home tab, I got a button for a brand new Skype meeting. This allows me to send out a meeting to a group of my coworkers, and we can have an online meeting, and it doesn't matter where we are. We can all use our phones, our tablets, our TVs, pretty much any device that has an internet connection and a web browser. allows us to use Skype. They don't have to have the software installed. Once again, if they don't have the software installed or they're not allowed to install it, the application can be served up through a browser. It works pretty much like a normal meeting. So parts of it really shouldn't be a shock or a surprise to you. Location, right, the subject. All this stuff in the body of the message here, this is controlled by IT. So in their Office 365 administration, they have Skype administration, and in Skype administration, they can control this message. They can add the conference bridge number, the access codes, pretty much anything that you need added in here for your meeting, IT can control it. So every time you hit that button, everybody has the exact same experience and the exact same information. Nobody has different information or the wrong access code or the wrong conference number. Makes maintenance for IT a lot easier too, because they're not changing the conference bridge in a million places when it does change. However, when you open up a meeting, you have a button up top to join the Skype meeting right away or to go into meeting options. Now, just to geek out just a little bit, when you create this online meeting, when you create this invitation, the server reserves a spot for you, and that spot is reserved until the end of the meeting. Once the meeting ends, the spot basically goes away and disappears. However, since the spot gets created and gets created before the meeting, that means that you're allowed to go in early and set things up. I'll show you that a little bit later. But the first thing that you want to set up with your meeting are meeting options. This is similar to what we just did. You have permissions where you can restrict who waits in the lobby. This way, certain people wait in the lobby. When you're ready for them, you can bring them in from the lobby, one by one, or as a group. If you add different people to this, you can choose your presenters. So the idea is that you fill out the two first. Once you fill out the two, you go into your meeting options. In your meeting options, you'll be able to click on Choose Presenters and decide who's presenting and who's an attendee ahead of time. You can also disable instant messaging, mute all the attendees, and block the attendees from sharing their video. They won't be able to turn it on, not unless you say so. So just like the WebEx meeting, it controls the room a little bit more, makes it so that people aren't inadvertently sending everybody messages or sending out what they think is a private message and it isn't, or just the video and audio, again, not realizing that it's actually on. So this way, you can make sure that that nobody can turn it on. I'll get out of here and I'll cancel out of this.
Greg, if I could interject with one question?
Absolutely.
Wendy asked, you had mentioned just earlier in setting up the Skype meeting about a conference bridge, but doesn't Skype for Business automatically call via computer?
Yes, it does. You can use the audio on your computer, but for people that don't want to use the application and they just want to call in, IT can set up a PSTN conference bridge so that they can actually dial into the Skype meeting. So if they just have like a normal desk phone, they'd still be able to join the meeting. But you're 100% right. Normally, as long as you're using a computer of some sort, most computers nowadays come with speakers and a microphone.
Okay.
So, yeah,
good. So you could, in a meeting then, you could have a mix of people who've dialed in with their desk phone and others by their computer.
Oh, absolutely. No different than today's meeting. You know, I'm not sure if we have any attendees that have just used the number to dial in, but for special circumstances, it is nice to have the conference bridge.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, we had 2 or 3 who couldn't connect via their computer, so I gave them the dial-in info, and they connected that way.
Well, the nice thing is that this stuff's not perfect, and it keeps me employed because of that. So,
excellent.
Yeah,
good.
Great.
Okay, Wendy, I hope that answered your question. If not, just message me. Thanks, Greg.
No problem. So, when you make a meeting, make sure you do your meeting options. You might not use all this stuff, but there might be something in there that jogs your memory and makes you think, yeah, you know what, we really should use that. But it's integrated. It's integrated into your browser. It's integrated into your Outlook. And if I open up Word here, I'll just create a brand new blank document, and if I click on File, I'll go to Share. That's one of the ways that I can share it through instant messaging. What this does is it gives people an instant message, and they get to see my document. But in a meeting, you have full control over all that stuff. Let me just do an ad hoc meeting here. It's called Meet Now. So when I click on the gear, there's a Meet Now button here. If I click onto it, there's my Skype for Business. I can get you to call me. Don't join the audio. So I'll say, you know, I'll just work like normal and use Skype for Business. And like I was saying, what you want to do is you want to get in here early. You want to get into your meeting early, and you're going to click the daylights out of this little TV screen. This little monitor is called Present, and this is where you present your desktop and all your content. But it remembers. It remembers that you presented your desktop. It remembers that you presented a certain program or a certain presentation. So the next time that you come back in here, all you have to do is click on this TV screen and click on Manage Content, and all of your content that you're sharing will be here. Let me show you. So maybe I want to share it a certain program, like my calendar. I present it ahead of time. When I present it ahead of time, I will be able to give people control over it. I can also stop presenting too. But I just need to share it just for a moment. That's it. And I go back to my meeting. And then I share it something else, like another program, like my files on OneDrive. Again, once it's connected, once I'm presenting, I know that it's kind of captured it, and I can stop presenting. I can go back to the presentation and maybe upload a file. To upload a file, I can add an attachment. And let's see what I've got here. All these programs, so I really don't want to do that. Let's grab a logo. There's the attachment. There's my other content. OneDrive, my calendar. That's the button to share it, to present it. With attachments, you get more buttons, more things to play with. This button allows me to open the file, take a look at it. That's what the eyeball's for. This lockbox allows me to control exactly who's allowed to download this. Everyone? Just the presenters or just the organizer? Obviously, that deletes it. The 3-period button allows me to save it as something completely different, or I can rename it. When people join the meeting, they'll note that I have some content strictly by the little symbol that sits in the upper right-hand corner here. So not terribly intuitive, but not hard to remember either. When they click onto it, they can go to the content and download any content that they're allowed to download. If I have any presentations, these will be listed too. But I do all of this ahead of time. That way, when I go into my meeting, I'm completely prepared. I can share out notes. If I go to more, there's even more things you can create, like whiteboards. I'll stop presenting that one. I'll head to more, or a poll. I can create all of these ahead of time so that when we're ready and we go to present, it's all in managed content. There's my poll, my whiteboard, my files, my calendar, and my attachment, all ready to go. So when I need to present the poll, all I got to do is click it. It's already done. When I need to present my whiteboard, I click the whiteboard. My files, I can show them my files and share that out so they can see exactly what it is I'm doing inside OneDrive. If I set it up, all ahead of time. Any other questions at all?
Hey, Greg. Yes, I do. A few questions have come in. A couple of people were asking for Skype for Business if there's a limit to how many people can attend. So is it capped in any way?
Not that I've ever run into. I mean, it would depend on whether you're using an on-prem service or whether you're using the cloud service. So on-prem, you'd be limited to your bandwidth. You'd be limited to the amount of RAM or the kind of server that you're using. And IT may be able to kind of help you out with those limits. But we've done ones where we've had 100, 150, 170 people, and we haven't run into any issues with it.
Okay. And if you have some people dialing in with an audio conference bridge, are they limited? Is there a limit to how many of those can dial in?
No, not at all.
No.
For those, again, it is limited to your PBX, but generally, no. There's no real hard limit.
Okay, good. And one other question on the Q&A function in Skype for Business. Is there a way to keep that confidential or to share certain questions privately with certain people, or do all participants automatically see all of the Q&As?
You know, that's a really good question. Let me take a quick look. I'm just going to load in a Q&A session here. And no, it looks like yeah, there's no way to private message or anything like that. So, reason I looked into it, reason I wanted to take a look at it. One of the things that you will notice with Office 365 and the different Office products is they change. They change on a constant basis. There are different features that you will notice that appear. For instance, the inbox for 2016 has gone through a bit of a change. One of the new things, and I just haven't updated it here, but one of the new things is that you have clutter, and now the new thing that's replaced clutter is called a focused inbox. So for those of you that that are using 2016, you will notice that your inbox is going to change if it hasn't already. So there's all these little changes. My whole point, though, is that it may be open to the Q&A may be open to the public now, but it's possible that Microsoft may decide to add that at any time. So always kind of check into office.com and see some of the new updates and some of the new things that they've added to Office, because very much like the applications on your phone, your desktop applications, they're going to start not just fixing stuff, but they're also going to start adding different features and refining different features as well.
Okay, good. One other question. Danielle was wondering how Skype for Business compares to WebEx. Would you say that it has the same capabilities as WebEx when it comes to hosting meetings?
Pretty much the exact same capabilities. WebEx does have a few more bells and whistles, no question about it. But just being very honest and very frank with you, my experience in IT has been that, is there a better product? Absolutely. Will you find better services and better products that are not Microsoft? Absolutely. However, just because something has more bells and whistles and can do more things, it doesn't necessarily make it better for everybody. So one of the things that I've learned myself is that if you just make everything Microsoft, then everything works and it's consistent. The moment that you start to go to third-party applications, even though they offer certain things that are more exciting or better or whatever, you lose a lot of that integration. So there's other stuff that Skype does for you, especially if you integrate your phone system into it. It also controls, or it doesn't control, but it actually reads your calendar. So when I'm in meetings and I'm on the phone and things like that, my status is changing in Skype, in Link. So, you know, outside of the meeting, there's other features that other programs can't offer you because they're not that integrated into Office products. So it's so tempting to go with things like WebEx and Illuminate and stuff like that, but it really depends on your environment. And sometimes when everything is just Microsoft, everything just works better. That's just my experience.
Good, thank you. David, I'm not sure if everyone can see it in the QA box, but David shared a link from TechNet. Says that it shows, as far as callers for Skype for Business, he said it shows 250 as the limit. But if you have your own Skype for Business server, that within your own infrastructure, that could go up to theoretically 10,000.
Yes.
So
yes, that's right.
Good. All right. Thanks for sharing that, David. And Danielle enjoyed your honest answers. Thanks for that, Greg.
No problem.
Good. So yeah. So just a reminder, anybody else, any further questions? Yes, definitely. Now's your time to forward those to Greg. If it's Windows 10 related, Office 365 related, the new Edge browser, Skype, please feel free to forward those along.
Any other questions at all? All right.
What I will do in the interim while we're winding down, Greg, is I'll share a few links and titles in the chat box of some upcoming courses. So in the very near future, we have 2 new one-day sessions on Windows 10, Windows 10 Fundamentals, and another one on Windows 10 Advanced, and also Office 365 for end users coming up February 27th. So those are all guaranteed to run, and they can be attended at one of our centers or virtually from your home or office location as well. One person did ask, Patrick noticed in Office 365 a flashing yellow tab at the top of your browser. I guess in particular you noticed it when you were in SharePoint. I think I caught a quick glimpse of it at one point, Greg, but
yeah, that was I think that was my WebEx. That was just kind of giving me a message.
Oh, okay. So not anything related to a feature of Office 365 itself?
No, it was just WebEx showing me different things.
Okay, excellent. Good. Well, thanks so much, Greg. It's been very informative, very practical. Appreciated the demonstrations of what the software's products can do for us. Hope everybody enjoyed that session, and we wish you a pleasant afternoon and look forward to having you with us on an upcoming webinar. Please stay tuned. Always check our website for that, or you can sign up to one of our newsletters for alerts on that, or maybe we will see you on an upcoming course. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a great afternoon.